Now let me introduce the second project for today, and this is the people from ECSAIDS at UCL. Let me introduce you to Fabien Moustard and Hannah Gibbs. Fabien Moustard is a PhD candidate in sociology and anthropology in the Extreme Citizen Science Research Group, that's ECSAIDS, at UCL. He's interested in how citizen science can extend self-worth to minorities. He has a master's in natural sciences and a master's in social sciences. Fabien is a PhD candidate in sociology and anthropology in ECSAIDS, UCL. He's interested in how citizen science can extend self-worth to minorities. I'm probably repeating this because this was repeated in my text. But now I'm going to move on to Hannah. Hannah Gibbs is also a researcher at ECSAIDS, and her work explores the contribution that culturally appropriate digital technologies or action can make to supporting communities to address local issues which matter to them. In the project that they're going to present to us today, which is called ECSAnVis, she supports the co-development of the Sapele software by supporting professional scientists and local communities to undertake experiments to explore how usable the technology is. She also investigates how higher education institutions can work with citizens to shape better societies, working with public sector organizations, social enterprises, and charities to explore how academic teaching and research can contribute to dismantling colonial structures. With cultural landscapes, this includes coordinating zooarchaeological analysis and teaching at democratic archaeological projects. She is currently researching the use of story tracking and digital approaches in collaborative recording and management of indigenous cultural landscapes threatened by climate change. This aims to evaluate how community-led projects can strike a beneficial balance between local communities, specialists, and environments. So over to you, Fabien and Hannah, please, your time.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to start sharing my screen, so hopefully you'll all be able to see our presentation. Research group, this set of tools called Sapele. They're image-based software that allow people to record geographic and spatial information. Oh, there we go. Thank you. So we produce these tools. Yeah, we co-design them. That's okay. We co-design them with our research group and also local communities, and then we have a set of technical developers. In our project, the communities lead decision-making about the kind of questions they want to answer. They tend to be environmental, and they also make decisions about the kind of data they want to collect and how they want to categorize it, and then how they want to visualize it. So there's a series of different steps. We'll talk about our methodology in a minute. There's a series of different steps that people get to participate in when we co-design these research projects as part of co-designing the technology. So we're kind of leading with the research projects, helping us understand how this technology might be designed and developed for future use. One of the main things that's really interesting for us, particularly in areas where people see environmental change, is that people can contribute to recording landscapes, particularly as we're looking at these ideas that colonialism has intimately structured the way that people are managed and recorded and visualized on maps. So we're really interested in how maps can visualize people. And it has been a sort of experience of violence for many indigenous or local communities historically. And we're interested that if people are able to actively participate in recording how they've visualized themselves and their issues on a map, they can participate in this idea of rematriation, which is a combination of the words of repatriate and matriation. And it basically argues that people who are intimately connected to landscapes, such as many indigenous communities, although that's not a sort of wide group that we like to generalize, lots of the communities that we work with are intimately connected to landscape, and the reconnection that they can experience through rematriating themselves with landscape helps them to better connect with many aspects of their identity. So we kind of like to take this argument that the anti-colonial structures that we dismantle are because we don't lead the way that indigenous people can interact with their landscapes. One of the things that we do when we talk about this, our researchers, we talk about the reasons why we think it's important and it's relevant and it's useful, and a lot of the issues that indigenous people with limited literacy already face are exacerbated by changes to their landscape access. So it's something that we think is really important. We've got a map of all the different places that we work here, which you should be able to see now, I hope. So these are some of our case studies, and these are some of the communities, and these are some of the locations we work in. And you can see actually the white background images are some of the categories of data that people have chosen to collect. So you can see, for example, in the bottom, when we're looking at Namibia, people chose a lot of different categories of animals they wanted to collect. But for example, on the left-hand side of the PowerPoint that you can see, there's only 2 categories. So the kind of data that people want to collect varies enormously, and the kind of ways they want to collect it varies enormously. But the thing that's connecting it all is this tool that we've developed called Sapele. I think Fabien is going to introduce to you now some of the work that he's been doing with this tool that we've kind of co-designed with our communities. And so you should be able to see a little bit more detail about what I've described.
So this macro, yeah, sorry. We are a bit old school today.
Technologically challenged.
So yeah, sure. Yeah, so I will just present briefly the work that we have conducted in Cameroon and Congo with Baka indigenous people. So there are people, there are many kind of indigenous communities working in Central Africa, and I will focus on one in particular. So the Baka indigenous people, they are living at the border of Cameroon, southeast Cameroon and Congo. So around the National Park of Lobeke and the Mesogja area in Congo. Just to give you a bit of context on indigenous people, they make up 5% of the global population. They own, occupy, or use 25% of the world's surface area, and they safeguard 80% of the world remaining biodiversity. So it means that, yeah, sometimes we think easily that there are just few people, but 5% of the global population means that there are almost, I would say, between 400 and 500 million people around the world, mostly situated in the low latitude. And the Baka indigenous people, as many other indigenous communities, have faced this eviction from the forest, mainly because of the global North conservation policies. And they often describe themselves as people who are non-existent people in society, who do not matter, who do not belong, who are not worthy. And so when you are living with this community, you truly share this feeling of having no possibility, having no future, because you are just living around the road with no access to the forest. Whereas, of course, the way of living is based on natural resources. So it's about collecting food from the forest. And so the approach that Anna introduced is, I would say, yeah, it's really about helping indigenous people to empower themselves. And we really believe when we go in the field, where I've gone with this idealist idea that we can strengthen the capacity to do what they want to do. So we are not trying to design a project, but from the beginning, we are trying to support them to build their own project. And we try to follow them on what they want to achieve. To do that, and we have used this methodology around all our case studies. So this is a common methodology that we have used, and that it's based on 5 to 6 stages. So first of all, we spend a lot of time with the community. Eventually, we sleep with them and who will collect the data, how they want to collect it, when, where, because we should remember that we are in place where there is no network, where there is no electricity. This is rainforest. So again, how you charge your smartphone and many things. So they are collecting data through smartphone, and they have also the opportunity to visualize them. And we have published this for the One War Institute. We have published this methodology in an open access journal. So I will just briefly introduce this with the project that the Baka indigenous people have designed in Cameroon. You can see on the left. So on the left is Sapele collectors, which they will collect data, and on the right side, this is Sapele viewer, through which they will be able to see the data they collected. So we use this is a 1-minute video. We use color for anonymity reason, And so here, for example, the Baka people have chosen to collect data on natural resources, on biomonitoring, illegal poaching, human life conflicts, human conflicts, and forest spirit. So this is the kind of icon that they can collect. And for each icon, they will be able to choose. So we organize these decision trees. And for each icons, they will be able to also record one pictures that enable us to check the validity of this data, and as well as another record, because these people are mostly non-literate people, so they can't write, and so this kind of audio will enable us to also to understand better what is in this picture. I'm running a bit of time, so I will stop the video here, but this is the thing that we can do, and so the location will be recorded. So just to conclude, the Sapele digital tool support the recognition of the key role of indigenous people in protecting forests. Here we can see on the left side, my friend Joseph working with an eco guard, and so that was the first time that they were together in the forest, whereas they are living in the same plains for ages. Joko Dadi, thank you very much. That's all for me. If you have any question, you are very welcome.